Before we start with this video, of course, you can find a lot of trip reports by train and ferry on this channel, and in the description of this video you find a link to a map, and on that map you find all trip reports you can find on this channel, but then on a map. Might be helpful for if you're looking for specific routes. Hello and welcome to another trip report. One I've been waiting for a long time since I started this channel. It's on the combined local train from Barcelona, or between Barcelona and the French border. And from there on, a sleeper train to Paris. You find this on two routes. One from Barcelona to Latour de Carol, Portbou, French and Spanish side of the border. And from there on you have a sleeper train to Paris. And one between Latour de Carol and Barcelona. And from there on you have actually the same sleeper train, because they will be combined in Toulouse to Paris. The route to Latour de Querol runs daily, and that's the one I'll be taking today. I'll also tell you a little bit about the other route, but in this video I will show you this railway station, what is Barcelona Sants. After that I will show you the trains to Latour de Querol, and after that I'll show you some views from the train. I also tell you a little bit more about this route in general, about the other routes. You can travel. No, I will not go into detail now. I will do it all in the video. Anyway, I hope you like this video, or this is a helpful video to you. If so, please give me a thumbs up. If you'd like to see more train related videos where I tell you more about a sustainable way of transportation, subscribe to my channel. And for now, let's roll the intro. Okay, just a quick message before I really start with this video. At the end of the video, I will tell you something more about how to plan your trip on both of these routes for the sleeper trains. Because there are some things you need to know that might help you for planning your trip. The connection with the sleeper train between the French-Spanish border and from there on the local trains to Barcelona is absolutely great. And especially for travelers who travel, for example, from the south of Spain by train up north to the Netherlands, Scandinavia or the UK, because it might save you a hotel somewhere along the way. Once again, I'll get back to this at the end of the video, because there are some things you definitely need to know. For now, let's dive into this video. I arrived in Barcelona with a high-speed train. The high-speed trains will use the standard gauge tracks, and the conventional railway lines in Spain will use the broader Iberian gauge tracks. These tracks are separated from each other at this railway station, and for the high-speed lines you need to go through security first. However, before I want to show you anything else of the railway station, I just want to make sure that I already have my ticket, so I can easily take my time to film the railway station. You cannot buy these tickets online, so you need to buy them via a ticket machine. And as far as I found out, you can also just go to a ticket desk. The Spanish or Catalan way of riding Latour de Querol is a little bit different than the French way, but it's easy to understand where you buy the ticket to. To Latour de Querol there are less trains than to the other border station, where you also find these Rodalies trains going to, and that is Cérbere or Portbou. Cérbere is at the French side of the border and Portbou at the Spanish side. I'll get back to this at the end of this video. The ticket price for this route, at least to Latour de Querol, is €12. At least this is the price level for April 2022. This is quite affordable for such a distance, I do have to say. It's not extremely long, but it's not a short distance either. Because on none of the trains that I'll be taking today there is a dining car or a place where you can buy food. I also looked for a supermarket within the railway station, but I didn't saw it. Thank goodness around the railway station there are lots of places where you can buy food at supermarkets, and this way I can also have a look at the surrounding area of the railway station. There are quite a lot of bus stops, and I also noticed this bike sharing program of Donkey Republic. At the other end of the railway station there's a taxi stand, and this place is quite big. Apart from that, there are many places around this railway station where you can pick up and drop off railway passengers by car. For now, let's go into the railway station and see what you can find within here. Barcelona Sants is the main railway station of Barcelona, owned by ADIF, the Railway Infrastructure Agency of Spain. It has become the most important transport hub of the city, being the center of the Rodalies de Catalonia. These are the commuter rails that I'll also be taking today, including the Barcelona suburban railway services, regional services and intercity services, both high-speed and non-high-speed trains to international and national destinations. Also the local train that I'll be taking today. It is an international train after all. One thing there's absolutely not a shortage of is shops within here. However, I was missing the supermarket where I really wanted to buy some stuff before the journey, or a bigger convenience store. There were places though, but not that much. Apart from the railway lines, you also find access to the metro of Barcelona over here. The railway station, I would not define this as a pretty railway station, but it's quite practical. There are lots of shops if you want to buy something before your journey, except no supermarkets. And there are lots of screens around the railway station that will host information about what shops can be found where and what facilities are where located within the railway station. For first class passengers that will use the high-speed line, there's a dedicated lounge as well within this railway station. There are lots of places where you can wait, as you can see here on the right for example. Even though there are no supermarkets, there are some shops that are getting close to convenience stores, like for example this shop and some takeaway things at some restaurants. However, for this journey that took me at least 12 hours on board of the sleeper train, I wanted just to have some bread and cheese for example, and I couldn't find that over here. However, I was able to buy some water, and of course there are several information points within this railway station. In Spain you will find trains at different track gauges. The conventional, so the non-high-speed railway lines, will use the Iberian track gauges, and these tracks are much wider than the standard gauge tracks. The high-speed lines will use the standard gauge tracks, so this is the same as in the rest of Europe. This is a railway map of Spain. The blue lines are the high-speed lines and the red lines are the Iberian track gauges. There are also lots of narrow gauge railway lines, and these are the green lines, but these are not even close to Barcelona. Because of this reason, the station has been split up in two sections. The tracks 1 to 6 are for the high-speed lines and the tracks 7 to 14 are for the Iberian gauge tracks. For the high-speed lines there is a security control. Right behind that there's a big waiting room and a place where you can buy some snacks and drinks, but that's it. For first class passengers, for some long distance trains you can use the lounge, and this is called Sala Club. In the middle of the station hall you'll find the entrance to the platforms for the Iberian gauge tracks. Around this spot there are lots of vending machines for the Rodalies trains, and you also find access gates. For the long distance trains that do depart from the Iberian gauge tracks, there is a separate entrance at the other side of the railway station from where you find the entrance to the high-speed train. Something else that's totally different between the high-speed lines and the conventional railway lines are the departure screens. If you don't see your train standing in the departure screens at the tracks 1 to 6, just try to see if you see it at the departure screens for the tracks 7 to 14. I think you have an impression of how this station looks like. For now, it's time to go to the platform. And as you can see, for the Rodalies trains there are access gates. At this spot there are more information screens about departing trains, and over here it's listed per route number. Today I'll be traveling on route R3. Even though it's line R3 and you might expect that these all go into the same direction, there is some difference between the trains. There's only a small number of trains that really go into France. Something else you find here is some more waiting space, as you can see here on the left, and another spot where you can have a bite and a drink. My train for today is leaving from track 9 or 10. The exact track number will be displayed a couple of minutes before departure. In general in Spain, track numbers will pop up pretty last minute, especially on bigger stations. At this platform there was also a place where you can buy some snacks and drinks, but this is not something where you can rely on. While I was waiting for my train, I noticed one long distance train on the Iberian tracks waiting for departure. Of course, at the platform there are more departure screens and some places where you can sit, but that's it. It's not that special over here. And this is my train coming in. That will take me to France. At least it will bring me just across the border. These are the Spanish railway class 447 owned by Renfe. These are typical commuter trains. They come in one class only. The first and the last carriage are exactly the same. The top speed for these trains is 120 km per hour, what is not that fast. And they do have a total capacity of 702 passengers per train set, so per 3 carriages, of which only 234 passengers can be seated. Just to highlight that these are truly commuter trains. The seats are good for commuter trains and it comes in a 2x2 configuration. Of course, you find overhead luggage racks and behind some last rows there's some extra space for luggage. The middle carriage is a little bit lower, so it's also easy accessible for people traveling with mobility problems. And right next to the toilet there's some space for bikes. In both the first and the last carriage there are special bike compartments. During my ride there were 2 train sets running on this route. What was more than enough for this route, I do have to say. There are garbage cans near the entrance doors, as you can see over here. You won't find them near the seats. For the rest, these trains are really simple. You won't find power plugs and there's no Wi-Fi available. The seats do have armrests that are adjustable and route information is given very well at screens at the end of the compartments and near the entrance doors. Right above the entrance doors there are some LED screens that will also host basic route information. A lot of the information that's given is not only in Spanish and Catalan, but also in English. Even though these are simple trains, a train tour is never complete without doing a toilet tour, and this is how the toilet looks like. It's not really special, I do have to say, but it's pretty fine, and it was clean over here, that's most important. Of course, this is an accessible toilet and you can also turn this toilet into a nursery space for babies, as you can see over here. And everything worked, I tested everything. Within all carriages you will find these screens that will host basic compositions for the carriages and safety information. And ironically enough, there were also some advertisements for the high-speed trains to France. Well, we'll take the slow route today, but I will tell you a little bit about this later on in the video, because they can be quite useful for connection on the sleeper trains as well, but not on this route that I'll be taking today. As you already maybe noticed, a little more than half of the seats do come in airline style or non business bus composition, and the other seats do face each other. I think you have an idea of how these trains look like. For now, I'll show you some views from the train between Barcelona and Latour de Carol, and right after that I'll get back to you and tell you something more about this route and how to plan tickets on this route. And the other route by sleeper train from Barcelona to Paris. as I promised at the beginning of the video, I'll get back to you to tell you a little bit more about how to plan your route on this, and also tell you slightly more about the other route that actually makes more sense if you're traveling on a sleeper train on these routes. By the way, sleeper trains are in general absolutely not the fastest way of traveling on trains. However, sleeper trains are very time efficient because you sleep and travel at the same time, so they don't need to be fast because otherwise you don't have enough time to sleep, unless they go on further distances, and these trains will be launched there soon. There are some plans for this, but I can't tell too much about it yet. If you want to travel fast on these routes, you can take the high-speed trains between Barcelona and Paris. In that case, the travel time is a little bit more than 6.5 hours. However, I think in many situations these sleeper trains are more affordable. I think the price for the moment I booked it, because prices are flexible based on the amount of passengers, but I could have traveled to Paris from Barcelona for about €45 or so, what is really affordable for such a distance. Anyway, these sleeper trains are also really great for passengers that will go more up north. And I'm talking about Scandinavia, big parts of Germany, the Netherlands, and the UK. Basically, if you're traveling with these trains, you can get to all stations lots of stations in those countries and those places of Europe, and also reach all stations in Spain. So these are crucial, and they save you a place to stay somewhere along the way. However, planning your trip might be a little bit difficult on these routes. I'll get back to that a little bit later on in the video. Of course, you can take the route I did on this video. That's from Barcelona to Lator de Querol and from Lator de Querol to Paris, or the other way around. However, there is another route, and that's actually a bigger route, a route that makes more sense, and that is if you travel via Portbou or Portbou, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, and Cérbere. Cérbere is at the French side of the border, and Portbou. I think the Spanish spelling is with a space, and the French spelling is without a space. So one or two words, but the Portbou is at the Spanish side of the border. Those sleeper trains from Paris will run into Spain, but they won't start into Spain. They will start in France. And the reason why you have this thing at the border in Spain, when they built the railway system, they built the tracks on Iberian gauge tracks. So these tracks are wider than in the rest of Europe. However, the high-speed railway system has the same tracks as in the rest of Europe. So this is why the Nightjet might run to Barcelona soon, and they will use a section of the high-speed line. Well, for the route Portbou-Cérbere, actually, there used to be sleeper trains to Portbou until 2002 from the Netherlands. That was really a great thing. It's a pity that they don't have this anymore. But at that moment, you can have the same kind of connection as I had here. If you're traveling on the Portbou-Cérbere section, you can also get high-speed trains to Spain if you change trains in Perpignan. Depends a little bit on the schedule, on the timetable, if this is a good connection or not, because this might change as well. And if you don't do that on the other side of the border, so in Spain, you can also change on the high-speed system in Girona. Don't do this in Figueres, because in Figueres might be a little bit closer to the border, but the high-speed railway station and the conventional mainline railway station are at the opposite sides of the city over there. And also the sleeper trains that run between Portbou, Cérbere and Paris, they have a higher capacity, but they don't run daily, at least not all year round, so that might be a little bit of downside. In general, there are also more local trains that will cross the border at those towns. It's still way too low though, but there are more trains than at the Latour de Carol section. About planning. And this might be really challenging, and I think this should be made easier. This is also why I made one video out of this, to hopefully make this a little bit more understandable to you. The Rodalies trains. These are the trains I took from Barcelona to Latour de Carol in the first part of these two videos. And those trains do not pop up in the international timetable called Havas. If you're using Interrail, for example, you can plan your trip in an app or Eurail, and those trains will not be visible in the app. However, you can use it. You don't have to pay for a reservation. For the sleeper trains, you're obligated to make a reservation, by the way. Something else I found out is that the high-speed trains between France and Spain do not pop up in Google Maps. And these local trains that will go to the border will pop up pretty last minute. So these are definitely things that needs improvement. And these sleeper trains, they provide great connections to other parts of Spain as well. For example, there's a sleeper train that runs in the summertime that's relaunched again to Hendaye. And from there on you can take the ESCO train to Basque Country. I'm not going into that right now. In general, these sleeper trains will be combined as they move to Paris with sleeper trains from other directions, mainly from the Spanish-French border around that area. And as they move from Paris down south, they will be split up in different sections. My train was being combined, the sleeper train, with a sleeper train that came from Lourdes. And I think that's all. I think these are the basics for planning. It's quite difficult. It might be quite difficult. You can use the Rodalies. Their website is linked in the description of this video for the sections to the border. Trainline, also link that. You can book the train tickets over there for the other trains, so both the high-speed trains that will go across the border, but also the sleeper trains. I booked my ticket via Trainline as well, and also for high-speed trains within Spain. Booking terms for trains in Spain might be a little bit different. Sometimes specific trains might be bookable, other trains not. I'm not going into that right now, although I'd love to, but this, after the video talking, already takes way too much time. But if you have any questions on planning, let me know in the comments. I try to answer your questions as good as possible. But for now, let's end up this video and let's go to the point where, well, I finished my trip for this section of the video. Welcome to Latour de Carol in France, just across the border. The train from Spain is over there, and that track stops here because it's Iberian gauge tracks, and those tracks are wider than in, well, the rest of Europe. Probably tell you a little bit about this in the video as well. You'll also find a narrow gauge railway line over here, a little bit more at the back. I will show you that in the next video. This is my next train. Here it only consists of 3 carriages, all 3 different classes. I'll tell you all about this in the next video. And there's a good connection on local trains to Toulouse as well. Actually, the train to Toulouse and from Toulouse are really good connecting to the train from and to Barcelona. Anyway, I hope you like this, or this has been a helpful video to you. If so, please give me a thumbs up. If you want to see more train related videos, subscribe to my channel. And the next video will be about the part 2 for this journey, and that is from Lator de Querol to Paris. See you on my next video.